Hey guys, welcome back to the show. It's Danny Elliott. Appreciate you joining me today. How many of you guys live in a $1 million luxury home rent-free? Just raise your hand out there. How many of you live in a $1 million house, a $1 million parsonage, let's just say? Now, for those of you who don't know what a parsonage is when you are a priest or a pastor, or you're a bigwig in some kind of religious organization, and by virtue of that sometimes part-time job, you get a house. You get to live in that house. You don't have to pay rent. You don't have to pay utilities. You don't have to pay HOA fee. No property tax for you. By the way, the church doesn't have to pay property tax either. So that's a parsonage. But today I want to talk to you about this guy, this honorable gentleman, Senator Raphael Warnock from Atlanta. So, Raphael Warnock is slapped with an ethics complaint for living rent-free in a $1 million luxury home. And this was on Monday. When it comes to the lavish $1 million Atlanta home where Senator Raphael Warnock has lived rent-free since 23, an ethics complaint filed on Monday contends that the senator can't expect to have his cake and eat it too. The Georgia Democrats' exquisite DeKalb County home came equipped with a plethora of high luxury accommodations, including a 100-bottle wine fridge, a Bluetooth-enabled cooking range. By the way, if any of you guys have a Bluetooth-enabled cooking range, let me know in the comments section how you like it. I have a Bluetooth-enabled cooking range. I always just turn it on with the knob. I don't know. I guess that's how I am. I'm one of these weird guys. I still drive a truck where you have to turn the key to make the thing start. I don't know. I'm probably going to be the last person on earth that has a vehicle that's operated with a key. But I'm also going to be one of those people that doesn't get his truck stolen because of somebody spoofing on his Bluetooth-enabled truck starting key. I don't know, guys. The senator hasn't paid a penny out of his pocket to live there because his church, where he serves as a part-time pastor, pays for everything. This is the parsonage, right? So it's a perfect deal for Raphael, but it may violate the Senate ethics rules that limits how much lawmakers can accept from outside employment, the Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust alleged in a complaint with the Senate Ethics Committee. Quote, "This is a matter of plain common sense," FACT Executive Director Kendra Arnold said in the complaint. Quote, "It is difficult to fathom how any citizen could look at this situation, that being a U.S. Senator, a part-time employee of an organization that just happens to buy him $1 million house to live in for free after he was elected to Congress and after which he sells his own primary home. And not to think that something potentially very wrong is afoot. Because would the church give this guy this house to live in rent-free if they weren't getting something of value in return? I mean, we all know about the situation with the Catholic charities where their primary income source was basically human trafficking of migrants into the United States, right? We already know about that. What is the Ebenezer Baptist Church interest in this? That's what I want to know. I want to know what Ebenezer is getting out of this deal. But anyway, Arnold's complaint said Warnock's free luxury housing arrangement likely violates the Ethics in Government Act, which could carry a range of sanctions, including public reprimand, fines, or censure. She said Senate ethics rules only allow for Warnock's free housing deal if it's customary for Ebenezer Baptist Church to provide free luxury homes to its part-time pastors, and if it's something the church provided to Warnock independently from his position as senator. I mean, does anybody really think that he got this house independent of his position in his influential role as a senator? I don't think so. The value of Warnock's housing benefit appears to far exceed the part-time nature of his work with the church. See, this is the thing, like, you can have a parsonage, but the value of that parsonage can't be exorbitant. So like, let's just say you're a part-time priest or a part-time pastor. That doesn't entitle you to $1 million house. And nobody would think that it does. But somehow we have different rules for members of the royalty. The people that work in Washington, D.C., the people that get all of our tax dollars. It appears clear that the housing is excessive and unreasonable for the services that he is actually performing, unquote. Arnold's belief that Warnock's housing benefit is excessive is shared by Dr. Albert Paul Brinson, a former associate of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was ordained at Ebenezer Baptist Church by the civil rights icon in 1965. Mr. Brinson said in an interview with a local activist in March that King would have never endorsed church funds being used to facilitate luxury living for its pastor. The priest or the pastor is not supposed to be living lifestyles of the rich and famous while administering over his flock in a $30,000 a year job. That's not how it works. Warnock's financial entanglements with Ebenezer Baptist Church have been a consistent political headache for the Georgia Democrat. During his 2022 re-election campaign, Warnock came under fire for accepting a $7,417 a month tax-free housing allowance from the church to cover his Atlanta living expenses, an arrangement that enabled him to exceed the Senate's outside income limitations. At the same time the church underwrote Warnock's living expenses, however, the church also owned a low-income Atlanta apartment building which tried to evict its residents during the height of the crisis for as little as $28.55 in past due rent. Just unbelievable. So is this a good religious organization? You know, is this a church that operates within the law? The circumstances of the church's purchase of Warnock's luxury home in 2022 are also suspect, according to Arnold. Ebenezer Baptist Church purchased the luxury home just a few months before Warnock secured his re-election bid that year, and also before he purchased his own $1.15 million townhome in Washington, D.C. in January 2023. Warnock then sold his personal Atlanta home shortly after moving into the church's luxury housing, which the church purchased for him. The timing, Arnold said, suggests his position as senator was a consideration in providing this specific housing. Of course it was. Even if the Senate Ethics Committee clears Warnock of any wrongdoing for accepting free housing from his church, the Georgia Democrat didn't disclose the value of his free luxury housing in his 2023 personal financial disclosure in what she said is a violation of the Ethics in Government Act. There's no ethics in government in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. Everything is a scam to take from the taxpayers and give to the Washington government. And that's what everything has come down to in the U.S. now. There is simply no contrary argument that it is not disclosable, Arnold said. Quote, one must ask if the laws written do not prohibit this particular situation, or at the bare minimum, at least merit a mere investigation, then what were they even written for? I can answer that question. I know why they were written. They were written to make people think that there's ethics and integrity in the United States. The number of people that are abiding by the laws and actually operating with morality and integrity in America is fewer and fewer as the days go by, and I've noticed this over time. Quote, it is inarguable that the known facts do not appear to comply with the Senate ethics rules. Whether the Senate Ethics Committee will act upon it, enforce the law, or maintain the public's confidence is another question. These parsonages are just a total scam now. But yeah, this guy Warnock, it seems like the whole thing was orchestrated, almost like he picked out this house for himself and he said, yeah, we're going to run this through the church. No one's going to pay property tax. You know, I don't need to have my monthly stipend anymore because you're going to buy me $1 million luxury house. And I'm just going to live there and I won't have to pay rent. And I'm going to go ahead and sell my personal home in Atlanta and then go buy myself a $1.2 million townhouse in Washington, D.C., right? And then I'll have 2 luxury houses for the price of 1. That seems like a pretty good deal. I'm sure many of you would like to have that deal, you know? And you don't even really have to do anything for it because he's a part-time pastor. I mean, we don't even know if he actually has any sermons going on. Maybe you're just on call. You know, you just fill in when they call you, right? But you're unavailable whenever you're in session. So you could just say, yeah, I'm on government business right now. I can't come and fill in, sorry. You know? But I'll be down there in the summertime. You know, you'll see me in August. I'll be at the house. You know? You can come over, have a bottle of wine. We'll take a bottle out of the wine cellar. I got 100 different selections you can pick from. We'll cook something on our Bluetooth stove. What services are rendered in exchange for this $1 million house? What did the church get out of the deal? Like, why did the church buy him $1 million house? There's got to be something that comes back, right? There's always a quid pro quo when it comes to these deals. So you guys let me know what you think about this in the comments section. But, you know, I was interested in this because one of my commenters mentioned that there was a guy in Texas that turned his garage into a church, and then he claimed a religious exemption, and so therefore he didn't have to pay ad valorem taxes, property taxes. And, you know, I was looking into these parsonages, and then I thought about all these new churches that have been popping up all over the place. You know the churches I'm talking about, right? The ones that are more like a performing arts center than an actual religious organization. I can tell you right now what I learned about parsonages were, like as it relates to a detached garage and turning it into a church, what I learned about it is that you have to meet certain hurdles. Like you have to have a service every so often. It has to be engaged in activities that qualify as a religious organization. You're not allowed to derive income from that parsonage. You're not supposed to be extracting more value than you actually provide for the church in this example. So I would definitely say that Senator Raphael Warnock is extracting more value out of this parsonage than the church is getting, at least out in the open, at least that we know about, right? We know that the Congress is corrupt. We know that they have all of these non-governmental organizations. They have all of these nonprofits that they work with. And we know that that's how they spread the money around. They got the levers to spread our tax money around. So we just got to follow the money just like anything else. But, you know, these parsonages are a scam. And this guy Warnock's probably going to get away with it, because they'll find some reason that he didn't violate the ethics rules. Just like Letitia James didn't engage in mortgage fraud, right guys? I mean, the 5-unit apartment building that was really a 4-unit so she could get the FHA mortgage. And then she's married to her father so she can get another FHA mortgage. And everybody in her family is getting FHA mortgages with her name on them somehow. But yet she had no idea what she was doing, right? Like, do we really believe this? I mean, come on. Behind every deal, there seems to be a scam now in the United States. Anybody connected to government in any sort of way seems to be involved in a scam now. Doesn't it seem that way? I don't know. It certainly seems that way to me. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments section. And I'll see you in the next one. I appreciate you watching today. And have a nice weekend. And I'll see you again soon. I'm Danny Elliott.